What's going on, socialites? It's your boy Cole Jackson. I'm back, and it's the end of the year. It is time to start digging into some of these best of and worst of lists. And what better way to start off giving you guys some lists than to give out the most disappointing albums? This video is I'm gonna give you guys my 7 most disappointing albums of this year, and you guys may agree, you may not agree. I want to hear in the comments. If you like what I got, put in the comments. If you don't like it, put in the comments. But I want to see you guys' list after I put this video out. So without further ado, man, let's get started. Number 7 is 42 Dugg, Forever Us, Never Them. Came out July the 4th, 2024. Look, man, I was expecting 42 Dugg to drop some heat after he got out. I know he did like 18 months, and I've been a fan of 42 Dugg since him and ESTG did that album, Last Ones Left. I thought that was one of the best albums that they've both done, and they both really got in their bag with that one. So I'm thinking after doing 18 months, he ready to put out some good music. He's ready to come out and show everybody he still got it. And I'll be real with you guys, the album just was 1, too long, 2, uninspired. Like, it felt like 42 Dugg didn't even want to be in the studio to make this album. It felt like he was happy to be out, but it just didn't feel like he really wanted to do this album. It just felt a little forced to me. And again, I love 42 Dugg, I love ESTG, but both of them has kind of been coming up kind of below their rap level since the Last Ones Left came out. Typically, for post-jail albums are usually pretty good. Like, typically when people get out of jail, they usually give us some heat, and it just really felt forced. It felt like it just wasn't inspired. It just felt like Dugg put out 21 songs to just make sure you guys know he still rapped. Now 2025, I'm pretty sure he can improve on that, because I'm pretty sure he'll drop some music in 2025. If I'm being honest, I would really like to hear 42 Dugg ESTG collab album one more time. I would like to have Last Ones Left too, because that's I love that album. If you haven't listened to the album, go listen to it. But yeah, 42 Dugg's post-jail album, Forever Us, Never Them, just didn't hit the mark for me. I was expecting something way better than that, and I got lackluster, uninspired music. Alright, so number 6 on the list, LL Cool J's The Force. Came out September the 6th, 2024. When you hear that Q-Tip is going to produce an album, you automatically think Q-Tip is a great producer. I've heard what he's done. I know his history. I know Q-Tip is going to give us something fire. Unfortunately, the production does not fit the rhymes on this album. I have no idea what the fuck they're doing on this album, bro. I have no idea. It felt like Q-Tip was making an album for who LL used to be, or it felt like LL was rhyming without the beats, and he sent the stems to Q-Tip, and Q-Tip just added his rhymes to the beats he felt like worked. Either way, none of this really connected to me. There was a few songs on here that sounded pretty good. I know people give a lot of grief to the Eminem song, LL Eminem song. I thought it was fire. I thought they did a great job on that. I know LL likes to experiment. I know LL likes to go left when everybody's going right. This is just way too experimental, homeboy. I'm just gonna be real with y'all. I just did not understand what type of direction he was trying to go. And for those who know me, y'all know I'm not a big LL fan. I don't really get into LL like that. He has a few songs that I enjoy, but I'm not a fan. But I know LL can rap. I know he is one of the best rappers that ever came out. But this was just not. Maybe it was too outside the box for me. Maybe it was a situation where he was doing something very East Coast that I wasn't really feeling. But all in all, the connection between Q-Tip and LL just did not reach me. I feel like LL should have went the Nas route and found a different producer that could actually want to connect, just bridge the gap between his generation and the newer generation. I think more rappers should do that type of shit that Nas did, because it actually works. Finding a producer that's a fan of yours that actually wants to be able to bridge the gap between different generations just works a whole lot better for me than it does what this is. It's not a bad album. It's just too outside the box for me. I think LL gave it a great try. I love the promo run that he went on when he did this, because he really was trying to push this album. And it did numbers when it dropped, but at the end of the day, there's no replayability on here. There's no reason for me to actually get excited for LL dropping something after this. And I just feel like he just put something. I'm not saying he didn't try. I'm just saying whatever he was trying to do just didn't work. And it just felt very out of touch. And it felt very left. So, and I wanted to like this album, but it just was too experimental for my taste. All right, number 5, Kid Cudi, Insano. Came out January the 12th, 2024. Do y'all remember Insano dropping? Yeah, me neither. I would love this album if I didn't hear it from Travis Scott about 6 months earlier. This album is probably one of the biggest cut and paste Travis Scott albums I've ever heard in my entire life. No disrespect to Cudi, and I know how everybody feels about Cudi and Travis Scott and the styles and how similar all this other bullshit. But if Cudi wanted to make a Gangsta Grillz album, because the DJ Drama stuff was a surprise, we didn't know about Drama when he was rolling this out. We didn't know about DJ Drama being on the album like that. And I feel like him trying to make a Gangsta Grill fell flat because it felt like he was copying somebody else who did the same thing and won a Grammy off of it. Not gonna name any names. I'm just saying I seen somebody else do this and were way more successful with it. Insano was supposed to be Cudi's last album on Republic, and I can tell because Jesus, could you put any? It wasn't creative. It felt very similar to what Travis Scott did months earlier. It just felt like he really thought he was doing something, and it just came up as a Travis Scott. This was a Travis Scott album for all intents and purposes. Go back and listen to it. It's a Travis Scott album. The production mixed with the DJ Drama stuff didn't go well together in my eyes. Like, he really wanted to do this Gangsta Grill shit, and it just did not work for me. It just didn't work. It didn't go well together. Cudi's rapping is Cudi's rapping. Take that for what it's worth. Take it for what it's worth. But the rollout felt like the album was going to be something way different than what we got. And I gotta be real with you. He needs to get back into the lab and find his sound. Like, this just doesn't feel like his sound to me, especially where we're at now in his career. And I just feel like, man, if you wanted to do a Travis Scott album, you should have did a collab album with Travis and then put that sound out like that. If you go back and listen to Utopia and listen to this album, I guarantee you're going to feel the same way I feel. This is a cut and paste. Hopefully we can get more music from Kid Cudi. I've enjoyed Kid Cudi in sections. Like, first Kid Cudi album, yes. Kids See Ghosts, yes. Some of that stuff in between, This, most definitely no. I was super excited about this album because it was the beginning of the year, and I just felt like Cudi was going to really drop some real good music, and it is basically a Travis Scott album. So, with it being such a cut and paste album, didn't hit the mark for me. I just thought it could have been way better. I don't hear anybody talking about Insano at all, and I don't know if people even remember this came out in 2024. But yeah, number 5, Kid Cudi, Insano. You could do way better than this. All right, I'm ready to get the hate train. I know you guys are going to get in the comments about this one, but I don't care. Number 4, Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady, originally released on July the 12th, 2024. Eminem basically put out a nostalgia album to make people love him again. That's right. He basically took all of his different personas and he mashed them up into one album to make all of his fans gush over him. When I critiqued this album the first time this year, people went crazy and thought people went in on me, bro, because I really didn't like the song on his first single. I didn't like his first single, and the album just felt like a gimmick. And I will completely say this again. It is a nostalgia gimmick to get you guys to gush over him yet again. He's in the point in his career where he shouldn't even be doing gimmicky albums like this anymore. I'm just being real. Like, he's past this. He is a top tier MC. A lot of people may not feel the same way, but I grew up with Eminem. He is a top tier MC, bro. Like, he can fucking rap. This shit right here is horrible. If you are one of those fans who love to hear Eminem do gimmicks, bruh, you haven't grown as a listener at all. You just haven't, bro. Like, he's way too good of a rapper to be making these types of albums. He is. A lot of people just don't feel the same way I feel, but Eminem can rap, and when he does this type of album, it just feels normal to me because I've listened to everything throughout his career. A lot of people feel like I'm not an Eminem fan. Yes, no, I grew up listening to Eminem. This type of album is regular. Him trying to get canceled and doing all this other gimmicky bullshit is terrible. It hurts my soul because he's at the point in his career where he needs to be doing Nas type albums. He should be doing King Disease type albums to show his versatility, because whether y'all want to believe it or not, M is a versatile MC. M can really fucking get down and do some dope ass rhyming, and I feel like he needs to make a pivot. If he's going to continue to make albums, which I'm pretty sure he is because he's one of the top streamed artists every year, can we just see something different? I don't know if y'all want to see growth from Eminem, but I do. I want to see him. Nas should have never did King Disease and Magic, because now I expect every MC at that tier to do those types of albums, and Eminem's not above that. He's above this bullshit, completely above this bullshit. It hurts my soul. Now, don't get me wrong. Records like Fuel and Toby, those types of records on there, I loved. I thought they were fire. I love the fact that a lot of those features complimented who he is and how he can adapt with different rappers. I think a lot of people sit down and hear what I'm saying and pick from what I'm saying to kind of point it out and make it look like I'm an Eminem hater. Let me be the first one to say, no, I'm not an Eminem hater. Y'all are the problem. Because you don't ask for better out of your artists, especially artists like Eminem, who I don't know how many more albums he has left in him, but he should be more hip-hop than gimmicks, is all I'm saying. Yes, I know that he is nominated for a Grammy for this album, but if we're being honest, that Grammy don't mean much. Not to him. He's done it all. He's done everything. There's nothing more that he could really do other than make a real hip-hop album. So, yeah, Eminem's Death of Slim Shady album to me was one of the biggest disappointments of 2024 because he's not making hip-hop. He's giving us gimmicks. This one hurts. Number 3, Benny the Butcher, Everybody Can't Go. Came out January 26, 2024. This was Benny's first album on Def Jam, and it sounded like it because this don't sound like Benny. They stripped him of his Griselda sound. It feels like they stripped him of the type of production he's usually doing. The production was just too clean, too commercial, it just didn't sound like the Benny that I'm used to hearing. And I know I'm probably sounding like the old man shaking his hand at the clouds. I want my Benny the Butcher, but this is not Griselda Benny. This is mainstream Benny, and it was not good. I kept it on my top 10 list beginning of the year because I really felt like Benny, I was forcing myself to like it because Benny got a deal. He had been talking about getting a deal. I know they gave him what he wanted when he signed with Def Jam. And I was like, I gotta root for him because I don't want him to fail. But then I'm not being real with y'all. I'm not being real with myself. This album just didn't have the Griselda sound that I enjoy coming from Benny the Butcher. And I can give you another reason why this is a big disappointment. He came out with Summertime Butch this year. He came out with Buffalo Butch this year. And Stabbed and Shot 2 came out. Those 3 projects outside of Def Jam are way better. That's the Benny the Butcher I like. It felt like it felt like he wasn't bound. It felt like he could actually rap the way he wanted to rap. This Def Jam shit that he did just didn't work for me. It didn't. The Big Dog single with Lil Wayne was hot. The LeBron single was good. Like there were some songs on here that had promise, but it just wasn't that sound. Especially when you listen to what he came out with outside of Def Jam. When you listen to those albums, Benny's rapping hard. That's the Benny I fuck with. You did one of the most commercial albums ever, and it didn't feel genuine no more. You know what I'm saying? And that's coming from somebody who's a Benny fan. Like, I'm a fan of Benny the Butcher. But my expectations was high. I knew he was going to have a great budget for this album. But at the end of the day, soulless. It wasn't the soul of what Griselda is. It wasn't the soul of who Benny is as a rapper. It just fell flat and it just sounded too commercial. And that's why that's my number 3 album of the most disappointing albums of 2024. All right, we getting down to the last 2. And I'm probably gonna get a lot of lot of pushback on this, but I don't care. Fuck it. Number 2, Kanye West, Vultures Volume 2, August 3rd, 2024. Where do I fucking start with this album? Let's see. Incomplete songs or songs that weren't produced correctly or weren't meant to be on the album or didn't have the features. Me being a person who buys albums, I had to repurchase the album every time they updated the album. That's right. Every time they updated it, I couldn't get a new copy of the updated version. I would have to go back to the website and I would have to purchase a new copy every time they got an update. And Kanye not caring about lyrics anymore. Kanye West sounds horrible when he raps. He is terrible. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he couldn't find any writers to help him out. He sounds like trash and he sounds like he don't care. The production, I'm going to always say he can produce because he did some fire ass production on this album. Ty Dolla $ign was more prominent on the album. I think that was a plus. I think giving him more of a display on this album meant a whole lot. But when you talk about the initial release of the Vultures Volume 2, it left such a bad taste in my mouth that I just didn't want to go back to it. I couldn't even finish the album. I went back to it one more time just to be able to finish it. I'm one of those people who buys Kanye's releases because we don't know what's going to happen with him in DSPs. He tends to figure out some way to get his stuff stripped off of DSPs, which forces us to have to buy the album if we really want to hear the album. But at this, when you release albums like this, where they're not full versions of the song, you don't care about rapping anymore, and the shit just is a shit show, I don't want to spend my money no more. I honestly just want Kanye to give us the final product. This experimental bullshit that he's been doing when it comes to dropping these releases here recently just feels terrible and shitty. On top of that, he's independent now. And with you being an independent artist, quality control is a must. Hey man, I know you're an artist. Hey, I get it. Artists want to put out their art the way they want to put it out. But me as a consumer having to buy your album 3, maybe 4 different times because you didn't want to put out the final project, it sucks. And I don't want to do that. That's all it is to it. I don't want to do it that way. Also, you're acting like we didn't go out and buy Volume 1 and make Volume 1 one of the biggest independent releases. He hit number 1 on Billboard and he sold tons of copies of, I think he did like over 100K first week, maybe something more than that. But we literally was riding for you for Volume 1. I still listen to Volume 1. Volume 1 is still in my rotation. But at the end of the day, when you're going to follow it up, you're going to make us wait. You're going to tease all this bullshit and then give us, you shit on us when you drop it. Why should I trust buying anything else from you? And at this point in time, I'm tired of it because Kanye doesn't have any quality control and he just doesn't care about rapping anymore. And here's the thing that I don't know is coming out of left field, but maybe you should just be a producer now. Maybe you should fall back from the rapping part and be more of an executive producer or producer of albums of artists that you really enjoy. Because if you don't get you a writer to help you with some of these raps, bruh, I just don't know what you're doing. Which is typical Kanye these days. I hated to put this on this list, but going back and re-listening to different albums and then kind of getting the feeling of disappointment from what these people put out, especially this album, it would be a crime against humanity if I didn't put this on this list. So yeah, my number 2 album of most disappointing is Kanye West, Vultures Volume 2. Okay, here it is, my most disappointing album of 2024. Big Sean, Better Me Than You, came out August 30th, 2024. It's not the Big Sean album I wanted, but it's the Big Sean album that I got. If you go back to the first freestyle he dropped before this album dropped to start the rollout for this album, conspiracy theory brain for me is this was a completely different album than what we got. I don't care what anybody says. This is not the album that he wanted to get put out there. I understand there were different things to mess up Big Sean's whole album rollout. The Drake Kanye West battle happened, which kind of, I think, pushed that album back way farther than it was supposed to be pushed back. So I get that. Kanye fan completely leaking his album online was another reason that this album probably was changed from what it was originally supposed to be. Like, we had some crazy Kanye fan leak it because of what he said, I think on Drink Champs or whatever the case may be, but the album got leaked. So we had to push it back again. And then the album drops, and it is a completely different album in tone and in theme than I originally thought it was going to be. Like, I get it, bruh. Life is great. You want to talk about your kids. You want to talk about your relationship. You want to talk about how life is treating you. You're in the best place you've ever been mentally. You had a book that was dropping with it. I get it, bruh. But I also understand that two of your peers, who you consider to be on the level with, just got finished, they had just got finished really going high level rapping at one another. And I'm not saying he should have been beefing with them. I'm just saying, did you hear some of this shit that these niggas was putting out? Did you really think that you can consider yourself in the big three when you're not even putting out those types of lyrics and raps? There is no song on that album that, I'm not even gonna say anything that Kendrick put out on the diss side of things. There's no song on this album that is better than Push Ups. And Push Ups wasn't even Drake's best diss rap. You can't tell me this was the album you wanted to put out. I just won't believe it. I can't believe it. And that's the thing too. Big Sean can rap at that level. Go back if you can find it. If I can find it, I'm even put the video on here. That first freestyle that he dropped before this album, he was coming for people. Pause if I got to. He was really coming at folks. Precision is not a record talking about life and how my life is great. Precision is, I'm coming for you niggas. Y'all are not the better than me. And then we get this shit, which again, to some people, they probably loved it. They probably love more mature raps. They probably love the fact that he was talking about life, loving his kids, all this shit. Me, I'm not so mature. I didn't want that shit. I didn't want it at all. You know what I wanted? I wanted him to rap at the level that Kendrick was rapping at, that Drake was rapping at, even J. Cole. There's nothing on this album that says I'm up here with these three. To me, it's a couple songs on there that work. The song with Gunna, that's another reason why this is disappointing. Because you can hear different songs on this album. The song with Gunna, the Precision song, there's songs on here that tells me this was a completely different album. You can't tell me no different. This was not the album he wanted to put out, and he had to put it out because of the leaks, because of the direction that hip hop was going, and I don't think he was going to be able to go with the flow. That's just a simple opinion. Could be wrong, and I could be a crazy man, but I honestly feel like this is not what he wanted to put out, and that is the reason why this is the most disappointing album of 2024. I didn't want to do Big Sean album, Big Sean like that, but I had to because it was one of my most anticipated albums because I love Big Sean and I think he's fire. But this, it really is wrong place, wrong time for this album. But that's all I got, man. That's my list. Most disappointing albums of 2024. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some flack for this, but it's fine. This is what I do. Let me know in the comments, guys. What was some of your biggest disappointing albums of 2024? Tell me in the comments. Let me know how you feel. I have more lists coming. They'll be out here in the next few weeks. I'm trying to make sure I get everything out before the holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas because, of course, we're going to be busy. But let me know how you feel. Tell me what you think is the biggest disappointment in 2024 album-wise. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.